AI is improving at a rapid pace, and of course, that means a big fear for humanity. But what about all the good things it can do? What about all of the things like autonomy? And what about autonomy when it isn't even in use? Yeah, it could actually do some crazy things that would make the world a better place. This is a little theory that I didn't come up with, but my good buddy Jon Twigge did, and he shared it with me. And I figured, you know what? We just have got to talk about that. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. So I think, John, I should just show the post. It is now certain, in my opinion, that FSD will be so good that Tesla will run in shadow mode, even when the owner has not purchased it, to which I would say, of course, it kind of does already. But there will be many cases, you suspect, when a drunk, distracted, or plain stupid driver is about to kill or seriously injure themselves and others, and FSD will be able to intervene, saving many lives lost and ruined, as well as huge insurance, legal, medical costs. And repeated cases of dangerous driving, maybe instead of just an FSD timeout, you get a whole driving timeout, especially useful for overenthusiastic, inexperienced young drivers and people as they get older. So what are we thinking about here? What would this be? How would this work? Because we've already got forward collision prevention. We've already got emergency braking. It's those on steroids, I'm guessing, right?
I guess so. It's good to be back, Brian. Nice to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. It's been a while.
Yes, I think the key thing that changes here is when it becomes unsupervised, that it can take over completely. So in dangerous cases, it's better, because I believe at the moment, although I've never dared try this, of course, if you ignore the warnings completely when you're in, we only have autopilot here, it just pulls over to the side. That's not necessarily going to be the safest thing to do. It's going to be much better to actually get to your destination or wherever it needs to go properly. And we know, obviously, people do die in accidents. There's all sorts of accidents. So I think we will gradually move to an acceptance that we must have cars that take over in dangerous situations. Whereas at the moment, there's a lot of wariness. There are cases where it still makes mistakes and the owner needs to still stay responsible. But it is going to become so good so quickly if we're looking at improvements in the hardware, the bigger networks, more H100s, whatever the latest NVIDIAs are. It's improving so fast. We're only just seeing with version 13 the first iteration from 12 of the end-to-end. If we give it another year or two, it's going to be incredibly good. And in fact, I did see SETI Park put a link to a new patent, however you say it over there, that says AI5 is going to be another 10 times faster again. That means it's going to use less energy to do the same work. It's going to be even more efficient. It's going to be running Grok at the same time as it's going to be talking to you, which will make the selecting destinations better. The Cybercab is just going to be amazing. So I can't see how anybody could reasonably say this can't be allowed, because it will save more lives. The other side of this is that I think we're going to have to keep running in shadow mode for some people, because some people just enjoy driving. Many people have been driving, perhaps younger people, perhaps driving 5 or 10 years, might carry on driving for another 30 years. I don't see how we stopped them. But if we've got a fail-safe mechanism, particularly for older people, I can imagine them driving away. And now, as they get older, they perhaps don't realise. I'm getting on a little bit. The eyesight starts to get worse. You can't quite see something as the rain and the headlights catch you. You start to think, I could do with FSD as soon as possible. So there are going to be cases where more and more people are going to say, that's it. I just want FSD to take over. And having that as a backup for everybody is just going to be amazing. We're going to have so much more safety, so few accidents. One of the things I actually thought about is I think I've heard you say as well that we will have less accidents, the insurance rates will come down. But imagine we've got AI5 in 2 years' time, we've got FSD 16. That Tesla driving along will not just know what it's doing, it will know what all the other cars around it are doing in great detail. Well, it already does, but it's going to get better at it. If somebody else has an accident and it's a witness, it will know whose fault it was. So
From how many angles?
and possibly even more angles if there's another
Right.
Tesla on the other side.
Right. Not
It could,
forget the array of cameras on this one. There's
yeah,
probably two or three more that caught it from another angle that may
yeah,
have caught the driver behaving recklessly for the last 3 miles, even though it only crossed their
yeah.
paths for a few seconds each.
So I think now this is more controversial, but I think we'll move to a point where Tesla's FSD will automatically report dangerous or reckless driving. I think we need to be careful. We don't want to report people for going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. In fact, I see all the FSD test drivers saying, "Oh, we always set it 10% over." We can't do that in England in some areas. Some places you get away with it, but others, no, you can get a ticket. I had a friend that got a ticket for going 1 kilometre an hour over the limit in Switzerland. They are very strict. So it varies where you are. So, and it's also what's socially acceptable. But if somebody is literally reckless, you get. In fact, one of my sons said, "Oh, look, you'll get through there," and it's like, yeah, but if I rush and go through that gap, I'm not taking the time I need to look the other way. FSD looks both ways all the time. It's really critical that it's got that awareness of the whole situation.
So
So
let's talk real quick about the path to getting to that report. And I think the first part of that path is reporting a traffic light that is out. This light, the green is burnt out or the yellow is burnt out. There's a pothole right here. We've got 6 consecutive vehicles that reported there is a pothole here. That is a report everyone will support, I believe, don't you?
and I think, haven't they already announced that cars are going to talk to each other and they're going to be sharing information about blocked roads? And in
Yes,
fact,
I think that's on 13.4, but I don't recall for sure. But yes, and to an extent, surely they already are, because where else is my little red chunk of navigation coming from, if not other vehicles? Maybe it's coming from some other service that's gathering that data instead. And if that's the case, this will be just as good of data and much cheaper to gather than paying the API fees to use somebody else's.
yeah, because I think Google Maps on its traffic information is picking up information from all the cars that are actually navigating.
Right.
And yes,
Not just navigating, if it's in your pocket, it could do it too.
yeah, if it knows you're traveling. So I can also imagine that, yes, if a Tesla is reporting a pothole, it could report that there's somebody just overtaken me dangerously, so that the cars in front or on the other side are aware that they need to be more. We've just seen the videos in the last few days of the emergency vehicles being recognised.
Well,
Centrally.
let's put a step in between those two. Amber alerts. We are looking for a vehicle with the following tag. If every Tesla was looking for that vehicle with that tag, the odds of finding it are astronomically higher.
I've seen movies like that. You have to be careful, don't we?
That's the trick. That's the trick. You have to start with the part that everyone can agree is fine, and then inch forward, and don't let anybody abuse it, because the first sign of abuse is going to potentially shut the whole thing down. So you see your car, maybe you're not even in it, an empty cybercab sees a vehicle going 60 miles and going double the speed limit through a school zone. Should it report it?
I had a real incident of this because I was a little bit involved in local government a few years ago, and I was talking to people where they were putting. Do you have average speed cameras in some areas over there?
Well, we used to.
Yeah.
What do you mean average speed?
Well, there's a camera that records you entering a zone.
Oh,
and another one a mile up the road records you going out,
and
it calculates the average. Now, these are actually much better because some people slow down for the camera, slam the brakes, then accelerate the other side if it's a normal one. So there was a small village that was getting these, and some drivers said, no, you can't do that to us. It's unfair. There was a school, and a lot of the parents all weighed in and say, no, absolutely, we want this. So socially, absolutely, we need these in certain areas. It will quickly be seen as irresponsible not to be reporting dangerous driving. And one of the main things is there just aren't enough police around to spot people on the freeways, etc., doing the dangerous driving. I can imagine the price of a cybercab and the mileage cost will be so low we'll start seeing police cybercabs just looking around, just monitoring
Empty.
traffic. They can deploy to areas, go and investigate things. There'll be some central controller that just says that's where I want you to go. But they could just cruise, look around, looking for dangerous drivers.
It's also a plate scanner. It's also
Yeah.
just picking up neighborhood activity. It's paying attention. It's looking at potholes and street lights as well, street lamps even. But it is also uh, a presence. And like you said, it costs less than a lot of things that departments already pay for. Certainly less than any of their cruisers before they're even outfitted. So that
And
would
of
be,
course, a police officer. There could be 10 of
yes.
these for the price of two with officers in them. But of course,
Yeah.
if this can be out 20 hours a day, it's a bit like the Optimus discussions about how the cost of them works across their lifetime compared to the cost of labor. This would be the same, because if you've got 3 shifts of officers over 24 hours, that is a very expensive proposition that can be done with just one cybercab.
That is actually an interesting point, because when people say, well, we just need to add a few police, I assume you mean add a few 24 hours, which means 4 times as many as the number you actually suggested. And it gets pretty expensive in a hurry. What other kinds of AI forward, someone's having medical issues in the car? I'm driving, and all of a sudden, my real human driving, my full meat operation is not what it was, not what it should be. It keeps telling me corrective steering applied, braking applied. Then what?
Well, no, I don't think it's a then what. I think if you've got Grok in the car watching you and you're having a conversation, it's going to literally see you having a medical issue. If we look at AI in terms of looking at scans, doing operations, AI is getting incredibly good at working out what's happening from a scan or just looking at somebody's face. Are they off color? So many different things. So it wouldn't take many signs that the AI would pick up within seconds that there was something happen. It might monitor it for a few seconds, but you wouldn't even necessarily need to respond.
Wouldn't it be something if at the hospital a screen flashes saying vehicle inbound, here's the footage from inside the car right now, it'll be here in 92 seconds, and the EMS could rush out? I mean, no ambulance will get there that quickly.
Well, that's where Optimus comes in as well. One of the other posts I did some time ago was that Optimus will be so good at doing so many things that I can imagine them stationed in communities. So they could be literally seconds away. And of course, they could be complete doctors, emergency responders. So between the combination of the cybercab or your vehicle picks up that you're not well, it could pull into one of those areas, pick up one of the first responders within a minute or two, and drive you to the hospital if necessary.
And it could play Staying Alive while doing CPR. So you not only know that it's at the right pace, but can enjoy the tunes. I think, and because it is, because what one Optimist knows, all of them know, once it realizes you're stable and all right, you can ask it what kind of bird that is, and it'll tell you.
I think that was one of the things I thought is you could just have a cybercab can do tours and then explain the local history, the local buildings. Literally, you could point and say, what's that? Mm-hmm. It's like, explain the history to you.
The driving tour can be as long or as short as you want. This part doesn't interest me. You know what? This is the 3rd mansion he said no to. I'm just going to take all the rest of the mansions off the tour. But for some reason, he really seems to appreciate the breweries. So I guess we're going to do that and juice back up while we're there. We'll both get a little juicy. So that's, and the driving tour is one I've been thinking about for years, because the car is the perfect application. It's got the screen. It can, and with Grok, you can say, tell me more. And you can say, tell me more again. And you can say, tell me more again.
As much as you like, as deep
as much as you like. Yeah.
Another example is driving instructors. Why would you need a driving instructor when you've got full unsupervised FSD with Grok?
Well, I actually need the lessons in a different language.
Yeah.
Done.
And also, I don't know what they cost. They're 30, 40 pounds for an hour over here now. I think there were 10 when I learned to drive a long time ago. But that adds up very quickly. You can imagine a crash course, in quotes, no crashing, of driving with Grok. And the nice bit about it is you can do the easy bits first.
Mm.
It can come out, do the difficult situations, and ease you into it, so that it could get you up to quite a high standard at your speed. Because you could go out for 5 6 hours learning as you wanted.
Before it tells you how to parallel park, it shows you on the screen a very
Yeah,
detailed diagram with the lines drawn onto it.
yeah,
All right, go ahead and park.
absolutely.
And it's expensive to have a driver's ed car because you have to have all of the dual controls. Nope,
Yeah,
we got those. We have those.
all
Those
built
are
in,
already
steer
here.
by wire.
Yeah, we can turn the wheel for you. We can apply the brakes. Um, but you will have to swear at the other drivers yourself, unfortunately, because that feature has not yet been enabled.
The only thing I think about this is, would Tesla ever do this? Because the only cars you would use it on would be not Teslas. So, but even so,
I think Tesla will continue making meat-driven cars for some time because there is a joy in driving, and
yeah,
Tesla still wants people to be able to take their cars to tracks and
yes,
have fun. I look forward to the first person who owns a cybercab is going to say, "All right, let's test the 0 to 60," and they'll put in their destination and they'll time it. It'll be about 15, 16 seconds, and it'll be a fun little bit of racing. Somebody will shave off a tenth here and there just
yes.
by being in a different place at a different time, but it'll never be exciting. My first electric car, the 2008 Zen Electric, had a 0 to 60 of no.
I saw
It,
the video of the very
it
early
did
ones from 100 years ago, a bit like
it
that
did
Model T.
it did
Yeah.
35 miles an hour.
Wow.
So
Even our
no
little
is the
Renault
answer.
Zoe will do 80 miles an hour.
Well, these were designed to fall under the umbrella of neighborhood electric vehicle. So there was all different safety and taxation and all kinds of different rules for.
Like electric cycles under 15 miles an hour or whatever.
So it was a French MC2 microcar, which
Wow.
was licensed as a quadricycle. They bought them as gliders, imported them to Canada, and there put in the drivetrains. So it was never designed to be a full speed vehicle. It looked like a full size, full scale, adorable little joke of a vehicle, but it was not. It was
I've
not.
never
It
even
was.
heard of that. You're an amazing source of information.
I get that once in a while, not too often.
And of course, the
Um,
thing we haven't said is that insurance might become completely free because the Teslas will cut the number of accidents to almost nothing. And it could just be built into the rental of FSD cost or whatever.
it will be likely limited to
Third
it would be
party.
third party. It'd be uninsured motorist. It would be storm, hail damage, all that. This is what it looked like, by the way. Let me pull this up. uh, it looked like this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's next to a Nissan Quest minivan to give you an idea of the scale.
I still don't know what one of those is either. I don't think they're over here.
Nissan Quest, yeah, just a
No.
minivan. Just a minivan. Super. It is the third sexiest imported minivan available at the time.
Even minivan doesn't make sense here.
Oh,
We wouldn't call
yeah,
it.
that's true. You'd call it a van.
No, we
So,
don't even call them vans. A van generally is a commercial with solid sides.
mhm,
Uh,
mm.
we wouldn't call a passenger car a van generally at all.
The things we learn about our subtle cultural differences, any other AI Grok type things that we could expect. I've had people ask me, when is Grok coming to the cars? And my answer has always been with unsupervised, because I think Grok will be too distracting. It'll be so much fun. It will be distracting. And I think that, yeah.
I'm not sure because we listen to the radio happily. We
Yep.
talk to passengers. So if it doesn't shout at us unexpectedly like the children, it could come earlier, but I'm a little bit doubtful whether they'd want to run all that inference on an AI4 when it probably needs it for the FSD. So we might have to wait for AI5 for the power to be able to do both at the same time. Because
Well,
that AI5,
all it would need to do is parse text. If it can do speech to text on board, it can offload the compute back to the mothership. But I think Grok will come with unsupervised. This is a very, very easy question for you, and definitely you're going to get this one right. When is unsupervised coming? People ask me that all the time. My crystal ball does not have the answer. My magic 8 ball says try again later. Do you have any thoughts on how close we actually are?
Well, what about a question back for you? Might they be secretly running it already somewhere?
Well, not secretly. They're using it full. I mean, they're using a hands-off
Yeah.
supervised version in California for employees. We don't know if there's any interventions taking place. Um, we know that for the cybercab event on 1010, they were running version 13 that just had a UI skin to make it function limited. But it was version 13. I've seen people say, well, they're probably testing version 15, 16. I don't think they are. I think whatever they're
No.
testing is the next thing, because it doesn't make sense to roll out bad software when they have good software.
They might be testing at a very early stage with one or two people, brand new ideas that will come in the future,
Mhm.
but not to any scale. No,
Mhm.
I tend to be the same as you. I get very wild in terms of what might happen in the distant future, but in terms of naming dates and stock prices, I wouldn't generally do it in the same way that you wouldn't, because we literally don't know. But we did have a clue that the official Tesla X posted it might be sooner than you expect. Just a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitive.
Yeah.
Sooner than who expects. Doesn't you, whoever you may be. So yes, very interesting. Guys, in the comments, what did we miss? What do we misunderstand? When do you think Grok is coming? When do you think unsupervised is coming? And what kind of features would you add to a vehicle like this in terms of what it can do for you, for your family, and for society at large? I want to say a big thanks to Jon for joining me. He's coming back for another show in a day or two, probably tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Everybody else, like, subscribe. Comments remain optional for a limited time only. They will be mandatory again. So get them in while they're more valuable. And yeah, like, subscribe. Stay tuned. Stay juicy. I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots, when Jon comes back tomorrow.
Thank you, Brian.